It's Beer O'Clock, and it's Beer O'Clock Show Revisited, the final one. It's a little spin-off series where we look back at beers that we reviewed way back in the Beer O'Clock Show's past. My name is Mark, and joining me is my beer buddy from then and from now. It's Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hi, Mark. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
This episode, we are looking at a classic beer and probably our first exposure to arguably true craft beer. At least my first exposure. Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, which we originally featured in episode 18 from season 1 on December 18th, 2012. And we're not just doing one beer tonight, we are pairing it, God knows why, some crazy reason Steve came up with, because he wanted to drink Sierra Nevada Torpedo Extra IPA as well, which was the first beer that Sierra Nevada ever brewed with their hop, Torpedo. Hence the name, I guess.
Nice research.
Thanks.
Impressed with that, mate.
Well, I had to go to the website and go, why the hell is Steve wanting to drink this as well as the Pale Ale?
Well, because if I distinctly remember us talking on that original show about whether Sierra Nevada did a bigger beer than the Pale Ale, because obviously the Pale Ale comes in at 5.6%.
Yeah.
And Torpedo, it's kind of like the Pale Ale's big bad brother.
Mm-hmm.
It's an extra IPA. It's 7.2%. And so, seeing as we've come to the end of this little spin-off series, I thought, what better way to say goodbye to Revisited than by not just revisiting, as you say, one of probably the first craft beers that we ever featured and really opened our eyes to what beer could taste like.
Indeed.
But by doubling it up with its big brother, which, to be fair, it's a beer I've kind of wanted to do for ages, but I've never really found anywhere for it on the normal show. So I thought, fuck it, why not? We'll shoehorn it into Revisited.
Why not? And all I remember from the original episode, from episode 18, was us going on about how peppery this beer was.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. Yeah. Oh, it's peppery. It's got spice like pepper, and there's hops. It's a very hoppy beer. Be interesting to see what we think of it now.
Indeed, I've had this beer a few times since then. I've had it on keg even.
Yeah, same here.
It's one of those beers that if I'm out with work friends and I order a pint of it, they go, a pint of that is 5.6%. I think that's fucking lemonade to me.
Yeah, don't you know who I am?
No, they don't know who I am.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into it, mate. We're going to start off with the Pale Ale, yeah?
Yeah, let's do quite a bit of the Pale Ale, and then we'll jump into Torpedo and see what we think of that, and we can do a little comparison of the two.
Cool. Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, handcrafted ale, as it says on the label, 5.6%. Brewed Chico, California, and Mills River, North Carolina. I don't know which one they came from. Yeah, I don't know. Have Sierra Nevada sold out, or was that someone else?
No, that was someone else.
Okay.
Sierra Nevada haven't sold out, and I don't think they ever will. They're too big now. They're too established.
Yeah, they are a huge name, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, this beer, it's a lovely amber colour.
It is.
It's nice carbonation, nice light carbonation. Again, a nice light, fluffy white head on it.
Mm-hmm.
Light hop aroma, light citrus in there, like as you would expect from an American Pale Ale.
Yep. I think we did another one of their shows, another one of their beers on the show, which was the Bigfoot. That was around Sierra Nevada, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. Considering the amount of beers they do, it's surprising that they haven't popped up more often on the show. But so many beers and only so many podcasts. We can't do them all.
No, unfortunately. No matter how hard we try.
Yeah.
Shall we get into it, mate?
Let's do it. Yeah. Cheers.
Right, cheers. I'm not getting the pepper.
Not as much as I did last time.
What were we talking about?
Maybe they've changed the recipe.
Maybe.
Who knows? Maybe our palates have moved on, and we were tasting as pepper, maybe we're now tasting something else in there.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit higher profile malt on this. Oh, yeah, I'm I'm getting a bit of pepper now. Very back of the palate as it dries.
It's certainly not a massively hoppy beer. It's not hop forward or anything like that. The hops are there. They're playing their part. They're balancing out the beer. Balancing very well with the malt. Light biscuit in the background. Maybe a little bit of lemon and orange in there coming through. Maybe like a little bit of marmalade on toast, maybe.
Yeah. Definitely very sweet up front. Dries off to a very nicely light bitterness as it dries off. It's quite a light beer, isn't it?
It is. It's very light, very easy drinking. 5.6%, as you say. Full of flavour. Yeah, just so much going on in there, really. But yeah, everything's very delicate in terms and balanced.
That's the word I was looking for. I was about to say there's so many different things, different little things going on, but they're all very floaty, very light, delicate, as you put it, quite succinctly, Stephen.
Thank you.
Well, since we're doing a double header, shall we also get into the Torpedo and then do a quick comparison?
We can, although I fear that we'll do one comparison and won't come back to the PAL.
Well, that's a risk I'm willing to take.
Okay, fair enough.
So, Sierra Nevada Torpedo, which is the extra IPA, 7.2%. Dry hopped within an inch of its life, I'm sure.
Pours beautifully into the glass. It's slightly darker than the PAL.
Ever so slightly, yeah.
A much bigger, fluffier head.
Yeah, much more carbonation going on in this one for me.
Yeah. Again, I'm not getting massive hops off of that.
I'm getting more than I did off the other one, but then this poured a much thicker head for me. The other one, I hardly got any head out of that at all.
I mean, yeah, it's maybe smells a bit thicker, smells a bit stickier, maybe. Be interesting to see how it goes on the palate.
Yeah, well, let's give it a go, mate. Cheers again.
Cheers. Oh yeah, straight away you get the hops. That's the first thing you get. It's the middle thing you get, and it's what you get at the end as well. It's hop, 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 all the way through there.
There's like a triple wave pine attack.
Yeah.
On the senses.
The pine, citrus, all sorts going on in there.
Mm-hmm. You get a shot of bitterness on the initial tasting. Then I'm getting a wave of the hoppage coming up my nose, and then as it dries off towards the back as I swallow, a huge ball of bitterness.
Yeah,
just kind of finding its way there. A torpedo, you could say, of bitterness.
You could say that, couldn't you? It is a little bit sticky. There's a little bit of caramel in there as well.
Yeah, the maltiness is still there. You can kind of see the characteristics they've brought forward from the pale ale into this beer, but with just a shit ton of more hops on top.
Yeah, and I don't know, you know, in the spirit of doing these shows like we used to, very little research has been done before we go into tonight. So I don't know if the Torpedo is an evolution of the pale ale recipe, just with more hops thrown at it. But it's certainly got a much thicker mouthfeel to it. There's more body to it. The hoppiness is there. The bitterness lasts longer. It's probably more of a challenge to drink than the pale ale, but it's certainly more into the spectrum of beers that I like to drink now than I did back then.
For a beer that's just a smidge over 1.5% more, I was going to say more ABV, 1.5% higher ABV than the pale, it is a much more sturdier beer. There's much more to it than the pale. And it really wears its flavours on its sleeves, this one. It's not fucking about.
No, the pale is a beer that you've come out of work, you're thirsty, you want that first beer of the evening. That's the one that you're going to reach for. That's gonna quench your thirst.
Mm-hmm.
You might have a second. If you're out for a session, Torpedo's where you're going to start heading after that second beer. You're gonna want a bit more. You're going to want something that's giving you a bit more flavour, bit more of a smack around the face, and it's there in oodles in this beer.
When you put your big man pants on, it's going to be Torpedo that you go for.
Absolutely. Now, I've just taken a sip, gone back and taken a sip of the Pale, which now tastes like lemonade compared to the Torpedo.
Oh yeah, it's lovely and light and refreshing.
It is. It's refreshing. It feels even more refreshing, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
Still incredibly well balanced. Maybe the bitterness has lost an edge after a good mouthful of the Torpedo, but then you head back to the Torpedo and it's all hops and bitterness and everything that I look for in an IPA, mate. Really.
I would wager that this is slightly more maltier than what you normally look for in an IPA, but it's definitely got that fistful of hops coming at you.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd agree with what you're saying. It's probably not as crisp as some of the IPAs that I really enjoy drinking now.
Yeah.
Because it has got that wonderful malt profile, and it does just balance out really well with the hops in there, and it brings characteristics and different flavours out from the hops. But what it's got is that big lasting bitterness that I enjoy in a beer.
Yeah. Now, taking all that on board, which do you prefer out of these two beers, or shouldn't I even bother asking?
I think it's a fairly obvious one. For me, it's the Torpedo Extra IPA. I do really enjoy that. That being said, Pale Ale is so widely available. Most supermarkets now stock it. As you said, you can now. There's a lot of places where you can find it on keg as well.
Mm-hmm.
It is very widely available, and it's certainly a beer that I don't tend to shy away from if I see it in a bar. I will generally always go for a half or a pint of it at some point. However, put these two on a shelf and tell me I can only drink one for the rest of my life. It's always going to be the Torpedo.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, for me, it's the Pale.
Of course.
It'll always be the Pale.
You're the yin to my yang.
I am. But like you're saying, the Pale Ale is everywhere. It's the beer that pubs will put in their fridge when they want to start putting a craft ale or craft beer sign out front. It'll be Sierra Nevada Pale Ale and Brewdog Punk. You know, it's such a flag waver for the craft scene, for the American craft scene in the UK. You know, it's such a classic, classy beer. The Torpedo now is lovely. It really does smack you around the face with those hops. A bit too much for me. I think if it was a bit lighter on the maltage, I might even like it more.
Oh, okay. But, too heavy on the malts. Interesting.
I find it quite filling.
It is. No, I agree there. It's got a thickness to it that certainly you wouldn't have too many of them before you maybe reverted back to the Pale Ale or you moved on to something else.
Yeah. Whereas I could sit on the Pale Ale all night. The Torpedo I'd probably have one of. Just to prove my manhood, and then I'd go back to the girly Pale Ale.
Yeah. Well, both of these are available in cans as well in the UK now.
Oh, really?
I would have loved to have tried them on cans to see if it retained any more of the freshness.
I would imagine they'd be astounding out of can.
Yeah, absolutely. The Torpedo especially, it might just help to lighten it a little bit. I mean, a lot of that maltiness that you're saying about that you find a little bit heavy because both of them are bottle conditioned as well. So it may very well be that could be down to the amount of time that the beer's been sat in the bottle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, who knows? Like you were saying, these are available everywhere. Waitrose, I picked. That's where I got mine this week. £1.40, I think, each, which is silly money for a quality beer.
That's ridiculous for a 7.2%
I
extra
know.
IPA.
And
Honestly, why am I not just drinking this beer all the time? Why do I bother with other beers?
I know, just amazing. So that's where you can find it. I mean, you can get Sierra Nevada, Morrison's, Sainsbury's. Well, a good Sainsbury's, you can get a pale ale. You won't find it in a local one.
Tesco's. You can get them at
Tesco's.
Tesco's. All the big
Yep.
four stock them.
hmm
Most online suppliers stock these beers as well.
Yep. The Torpedo's a little harder to find, but most Waitrose should have them.
Yeah.
And I
And Marks and Spencer now for both of them. Marks and
really,
Spencer's good, bigger Marks and Spencer's with their extended craft range, which they've got now, stock both these beers.
oh, see, I very rarely go into a bigger Marks and Spencers. I usually go into the ones at train stations and shit like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's a really good shout. Okay, well that's our final revisited, mate. It's been pretty damn awesome looking back at these beers that we've done over the film
It has.
series.
I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Looking back to where we were 3 years ago, and some of the things we were saying about some of the beers and about some of the breweries, as well to where we are now, and how things have moved on.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's been a good little experiment actually.
indeed.
Going back and redoing some of these.
Yeah, and listeners, we hope that you've enjoyed them. Let us know on Twitter what you thought and what you think of our revisited little bits and pieces. What you think of these beers. What you think of the other beers we've done revisited. And we'll join you again soon on the normal show. That continues as ever. Season 8 is underway right now.
It
It's
is.
a big bloody season.
It is, and we're closing in on the end of that season, and it has been a big one, and there have been some big beers, and there are still some big ones to come.
Oh yeah. Until next time, Stevie.
Mate, you know what? I've avoided saying it for this entire series, but it's there now. It's my catchphrase, and I'm not going to do it. You know what? This has been the highlight of my bloody week.
And mine. Bye bye.
Bye.